I'm rusty. I might screw it up.
It's now 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, October 2nd, and we will begin the meeting of the Southeast Polk Community School District Board of Education. Roll call, please. Bridget. Here. Chad.
Here.
Brett.
Here.
Lori.
Here.
Gary.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Rick, here.
Rick. Sorry, Rick. Okay, we have a quorum. Now, agenda adoption.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
So moved.
All right.
So moved.
So move. Bridget. Yes. Chad.
Yes.
Brett.
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Gary.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
All right, everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next is the district vision and mission. Rick, would you read that, please?
Okay. Southeast Polk will learn, lead, and live. Success for college, career, and civic life. Engage all students in learning a challenging curriculum delivered through quality instruction.
Thank you very much. Okay, and now we have come to the moment to open to public comments. I have received one. Board Secretary, have we received any others? Is there anybody else who wanted to see? Okay, I'm going to read a statement that we read before public comments or open forums. The board recognizes the importance of citizen participation in school district matters. Citizens wishing to address the board must do so in the public portion of the agenda. Citizens need to complete a public's comment card prior to the meeting and give it to the superintendent or board recorder. The public comments cards are located on the table at the entrance of the meeting. If an individual wishes to address the Board of Education, time is limited to 3 minutes. Any group wishing to address the Board of Education should select a spokesperson. The spokesperson is limited to 5 minutes. The board president will recognize these individuals to make their comments at the appropriate time. When addressing the Board of Education, state your name and group, if applicable, address, city, and agenda item to be addressed. Only those speakers recognized by the board president will be allowed to speak. Comments by others are out of order. If disruptive, the individual causing the disruption may be asked to leave the board meeting. The board will not act on any issue presented during open forum if it was not published as an agenda item. Iowa open meetings law prohibits action on any issue that is not on the agenda. The board asks that no charges or complaints be made against individual employees of the district, board member, or community members. Remarks that are inappropriate, defamatory, or obscene will be considered out of order. All right, and now I'll call up the agenda item, the public comments, at 5:33 p.m. And we'll go ahead if we've received the individual from Julie, our card from Julie Durer. She's representing a group. You can come forward and please state your name and address.
Okay, my name is Julie Dewar. I live at 1925 Southeast 82nd Street in Runnels, Iowa, 50237. Okay, good evening, Southeast Polk board members and community. I am here on behalf of several parents that couldn't be here tonight to advocate for a challenging curriculum for all students in the Southeast Polk School District. 2 years ago, I sat in a junior high parent meeting where Mr. Daly stated that courses wouldn't be changing. Yet for students entering 9th grade, there were no STEM-related options, no advanced English 1, no advanced physics, and fewer electives than when 9th grade was located across the street. Parents raised concerns back then. Emails were sent to the board, and some even came and spoke to this very board. Additionally, you heard from every English 1 teacher at the high school, as well as a few of the science teachers expressing their concerns about limiting classes for future 9th graders at the junior high. Now, 2 years later, I'm here again because the concerns remain. We say we want rigor without lowering expectations. Dr. Latham emphasized this in our district-wide professional development goals that were shared at the last board meeting. If all means all, and your mission is to engage every student in a challenging curriculum, then we must ask, why are we limiting opportunities? Mr. Daly implemented a placement matrix, one that allows select high-performing students to access advanced classes, but doesn't that system exclude many who are willing to challenge themselves? There were ways to make it work, and it was previously working, and it didn't regard any staffing issues. So why the matrix now? What exactly is the criteria for this matrix? Who designed it? Why are some advanced classes sitting partially empty with interested students being turned away? Getting into AP Human Geography currently requires a form to be filled out by the student and parents, and a student to express interest and receive teacher recommendation from their history teacher. AP courses are college level, yet now we're requiring more gatekeeping for advanced high school classes than for college level ones. Another example, the state requires only proficient ISASP scores to enroll in DMAC dual credit courses, so why is our matrix stricter than the state's own standards just to get into advanced classes? In addition, the grading system is inconsistent for 9th through 12th grade. A system of 4, 3, I don't know why there's no 3.5, 4, 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, and 1 are the grading system for 10 through 12. But 9th graders at the junior high have 4, 3, 2, 1 grading. So when calculating cumulative GPA, this very well will have an impact for some students, not to mention some classes are identical between the two buildings, but you have 2 different grading systems.
You have 30 seconds.
Oh, God. Okay, I've got a whole bunch more to say, so I'll do it a different day. I urge this board to take immediate and intentional steps to review and revise the current course placement practices, including the matrix being used to restrict access to advanced classes. We need to reevaluate how we define and deliver rigor, because when eager students are told you don't qualify, we aren't raising expectations, we're creating barriers. We need to commit to transparency and publish that criteria and process behind the matrix, make it clear who created it, how it's being applied, and how students and families can appeal those decisions. And finally, I'm asking that you honor your mission. If all means all, then let's create a system where every student, especially those ready and willing to stretch themselves, has the chance to be challenged. Thank you.
You can actually continue. That was an
Okay,
error.
okay, let me go
Yep.
back up. Okay, colleges look beyond GPA and ACT. They look at the rigor. So if 9th grade transcripts count, limiting access to those advanced courses can have long-term consequences. So for example, Advanced English 2 once had 4 to 5 full sections of classes. Now there are just 3 with a waiting list. That's because not enough of those freshmen knew that they could sign up for Advanced English 2 because they weren't in Advanced English 1 because of the matrix. So students want the challenge. We have a wait list. Why are we making it harder for them to try? The issue, my most important part, the personal part, the issue of a challenging curriculum doesn't stop at the high school level. In elementary schools, when students don't qualify for TAG, it falls on classroom teachers to scaffold instruction for high achievers. But when students like my son consistently meet or exceed fast testing benchmarks from the beginning of the year, show limited growth in areas on their ISASP, and still report being bored every day in school, it raises concerns. The data shows what he's been saying. He's not being challenged. So once again, the ending part is I'm urging the board to take immediate and intentional steps to review and revise the current course placement practices, including the matrix being used to restrict those advanced classes. And then finally, honor your mission, if all means all. Create a system where every student, especially those ready and willing to stretch themselves, has the chance to be challenged. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. All right, we will move on to our consent agenda next. We just need a motion for that.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay. Any comments or questions? All right, Lacey? Chad?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Bridget? Yes. All right, on to old and new business. First item, A, is award bid for transportation facilities project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Slings and Mr. Handy. Do we have discussion on this item?
I think we need to be more specific on the
Yeah.
motion.
Okay,
Okay,
I'm going to redo my motion. My apologies. I make a motion that we reject all bids.
okay. Are you
Second.
seconding it? Okay, so we have a first and second. And now discussion or questions or information? Kevin, do you have some background information on this?
Good evening, Board. Yes, we're going to recommend rejecting all bids on this particular project. We will go back out with this project plan. We'll use an alternative delivery method, and that delivery method will be the construction management at risk, the same type of method we had for the district office project.
Okay, thank you for
You're welcome.
clarifying that information. Any questions, comments, anything? Okay, we'll move that to a vote. Thanks, Lacey. Okay. Brett?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Bridget? Yes. Chad?
Yes.
All right, now item B, awarding the bid for the baseball and softball improvement project.
Motion to approve the administrative recommendation for Mid-America Sports Construction with the base bid and alternative one for a total of $1,724,088.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Crab and Ms. Slings. Any questions or conversation, comments on this?
My only comment would be I'm happy that we're choosing Mid-American Sports Construction since they originally built the stadium when we went from grass to turf, and they are very well respected, and I'm glad we're using them as our contractor.
All right, thank you. Any others? Okay, Lacey? Lori?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Bridget? Yes. Chad?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
All right, that's all for any items requiring a vote. We're on to topics for discussion. The first topic is AI updates. So we have a presentation on AI.
Success. It's a miracle. Never know when technology is really going to work. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me tonight to share some updates with you and information about how we're equipping teachers and students with the knowledge and understanding of artificial intelligence at Southeast Polk this year. I'm Kendra Carlson, the District Technology Integration Coordinator. It's a pleasure to be here. We began our year encouraging teachers to take the first step in encouraging them to have open conversations with students and staff around the topic of AI. We know that having transparency and having those conversations is often the first step to beginning to understand where perspectives fall and how people feel on different topics that can be controversial. So questions like, how are you using AI in your daily life at home? How are you using it in your job-related tasks? And then also encouraging them to have those conversations with students as well of how students are utilizing it, or how have they heard other people that are in their lives, their parents and family members, have they heard about that? And just try to get that transparency open of beginning those conversations with them. However, we know that just having conversations is not always very intentional. And so we've put some lessons in place this year across all of our buildings, K-12 in a variety of ways that will be spread out kind of throughout the year. So at our elementary levels, we have teacher librarians and our counselors that are delivering lessons around AI. Our teacher librarians are focusing more on what is AI, how does it work, what is an algorithm, how do large language models get trained, and then utilizing Magic School, which is a tool that I'll reference towards the end of this, as kind of a sandbox, if you will, for students to interact with a chatbot in a safe way. And then the counselors are focusing more on the ethics of AI usage, paying attention to bias, and really that digital safety piece of AI. So that will round out some of the things that our elementary students are learning in that area. And then at our secondary buildings, they're doing more of an all-encompassing focus with lessons that are ranging from the basics of just what is it, why do we have it, how does it work, and then also moving into the ethical piece of it. How does social media and AI, how those things collide with each other and how that works. And then also the big elephant in the room, like when is it using AI cheating? And when is it not cheating? And how do we cite that? When is it plagiarism? And beginning to have those types of discussions in class. So it's a challenging topic for teachers. It's a challenging topic for students. It's a challenging topic for parents to navigate because we're all learning about it essentially at the same time. So we're seeking to provide opportunities for PD for our teachers in a variety of ways so that they can feel supported in helping to answer some of these questions that their students have. And then also showing them some ways that they can make their job tasks easier, to save them time, to allow for more opportunities for them to make those student connections. We know AI is not going to replace our teachers because of the human element that is there, but it can help them maximize their time so that they can do what they do best in the classroom with our teachers. So this all comes with a lot of challenges. How do we ensure that our students are still having productive struggle and building up their critical thinking skills? We want students to live in the learning space, so the graphic that I have up there, we've been talking in our professional developments of this learning space, which is a really important place to develop our understanding for things, that we have things we don't know, and how do we get from the not knowing to the knowing, and a lot of time there's that productive struggle that has to take place before we get from one place to the other. And with AI, it can really shrink that learning space because we can go from not knowing something to knowing something in a matter of seconds of getting that information really fast. And so we want to encourage our students to still think about what are those ways that I am trying to get AI to help me with what it is that I want it to help me with, using those critical thinking skills to get to that place, and being careful as they get those outputs, they're receiving those outputs of, is it accurate? And does this really provide the information for me that I need or want to help me do something better or to be more productive in a certain way? And so that learning space can still take place with the usage of AI in an ethical and safe way. Teachers and students are looking for guidance from us as leaders. Parents, they're looking to their, students are looking to their parents for help. And we know that we're all trying to look at each other for help as well in this area of the appropriate and ethical use. So in an effort to provide some guidance, we've created an EduAI Collective, which is a group of 12 teachers, instructional coaches, and administrators. We'll be adding some students into that as we go through the year, which essentially is a group to define what AI usage can look like for teachers and students at Southeast Polk. We've met one time so far and kind of worked towards establishing some shared understandings. And we are going to begin to develop an AI usage or assessment scale, which the goal of that is to provide a framework for the integration of AI into educational tasks. The scale will be differentiated to fit the developmental appropriateness of each level. We know that how a fifth grader may interact with AI is going to look very, very different than in a high school biology class, and what some appropriate uses for that might be. We also know that another challenge in this quickly changing world is the amount of tools and resources, AI platforms that are produced and created on a daily basis. There are thousands out there, which is very overwhelming. And safety and security is really important to us at Southeast Polk. And so we've adopted a tool called Magic School AI. And what we like about Magic School AI is that it really has been trained specifically to be an instructional assistant. So all of the different tools within this platform are really geared for teacher support around some of the tasks that teachers may do on a daily basis. And it will provide instructional answers more quickly and accurately. The other thing that we like about this is that this particular tool does not sell, collect, or share any of the data. So similar or not similar to a ChatGPT, where anything that you put in to ChatGPT is being fed to the greater OpenAI world. And with Magic School, anything that is put in is firewalled. So it isn't feeding or helping to train anything at all. It stays within that particular platform. So we know that it is not, it acts very differently than a ChatGPT does. So we are encouraging our teachers to use that when they're doing job-related tasks, because it is more protective and it is very much geared towards being trained on those instructional tasks that teachers are doing. So we are continually striving to prepare our students for a future that we know will require critical thinking and problem solving, creativity of some form or fashion in whatever job our students may move into, and a world that is increasingly influenced by AI in almost every field of work. And so I just thank you and want to remind everyone in this fast-paced, really ever-evolving area of the world right now, thank you for your ongoing support and involvement as we continue to navigate this uncharted kind of territory of education as we move forward. Are there any questions?
Kendra, I appreciate your presentation, and it's the way of the future, obviously. But I really appreciate that you're taking this slow and you're choosing the right resources and how to implement it, because I think we learned during the pandemic that you can't replace face-to-face teaching and being with a teacher. And Zoom meetings might be good for the adults in the work field, but not in education. We don't need Google Meets at the elementary level. We don't need Zoom meetings. So I'm glad you're in charge. I'm glad you're going to take it slow, and it is the way the world's going to go, so we have to embrace it, but I just hope we don't go too fast.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback.
I have a comment. Once you have done your work with the committee this year, would we be able to get an update, perhaps like toward the end of the year or in the summer, of where we got to through the year with your work with the committee?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I just had a question as far as, I'm guilty, I use ChatGPT all the time, but, are you seeing a lot, because I'm assuming the teachers at the higher levels are running them through, plagiarism checks. Are you seeing a lot of that with the students using the AI to generate, paper ideas and sections. Are you seeing a lot of that?
It's happening. I'm sure it's happening. It's happening everywhere across the country. Students are using it. And one thing that's hard is we can't lasso them in and say, you can never use this when they go out and they go home and they have access to it. So that's why our response to that is that we need to try and help them understand how to ethically and appropriately use it for those various purposes when they are thinking like, I think I would like to get this done a lot faster. Yes.
Yeah, they can be useful for like idea generation and things of that nature. But yeah, I was just wondering, but is that a common practice for the teachers when they're assigning a paper or something of that nature for them to use plagiarism, whatever platform to check to see what percentage that is? Or is
So
that
I have not met with individual teachers to see how many of those types of tools are being used. I'm sure that they are. There's some interesting research out there that actually the AI checkers that do exist aren't very accurate. And so I'm sure with time, like everything else, that they will get better and improve. But at this time, a lot of times when I've tested them out, like I put something through that was 100% my own writing, and it was like 60% of this was written with AI, and I was like, no, it wasn't. I wrote that whole thing. And then I put something through that was 100% AI, and it said 80% of it was written with AI. So it was a little more accurate, but it's really important that our teachers are still using best practices with students, that they still know what kind of writer their students are. And so I think a lot of especially our English teachers have gone a lot to just live writing, so that when they're in class, that's when they're having them write things. My own daughter and Allie, I know, we've talked about this, that they're doing a lot of their papers written back to paper pencil, because teachers want to see exactly what kind of writer they are, to try and eliminate that piece, to get a good feel. And then if something is turned in that's like, whoa, this does not look like your writing, then they can have a conversation and say, can you tell me about this? And hopefully it's not going to be this whammo, you used AI, this is terrible, but can be open to that.
Well, yeah, I would be curious to just, if you, in your conversations with the English teachers, what they're using right now. And then just also, I'm really, excited about you including the students in the work group, just because there's just so many directions how teachers are going to evaluate it. A lot of common practice is, if it comes back as a high plagiarism score, to go back and actually really dig into that and maybe have a discussion with the student. But and then also, what they're looking for, what is it going to be allowed for? Is it just idea generation, topic generation? So that's going to be really exciting to see over the next year.
Yeah,
So-
well, and just to hopefully provide a sense of security for, kids need boundaries, and they really crave boundaries. And so when something is so brand new for them and they don't really know and it's exciting, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can get this information so fast. But they need those guardrails. So hopefully by having this type of scale to use, it will provide some guidance for them, and also for teachers to say, this is what is appropriate for usage in this class for this particular assignment. And that we have each department working on creating one of those so that it's specific to their content area, because it does look really different in every area of study. So yeah, I'm excited too. We'll see where it goes.
We've got a few questions and comments. First of all, just to echo what Mr. Powell was saying, I'm glad that we're taking this step by step, that we have a tool that we feel is safe in terms of putting data into it. It's not training off of our data. I think that's really good. And the fact that we're giving differentiated education about AI through all the grade levels, because everybody's using it right now. I have it up, some form of AI up probably all day long, every day, because I write code and I write papers and things like that, and that's just the reality that we live in. I'm wondering, one question I have is, you talked about, you know, the kids and the teachers. What about parents? Are we doing anything to educate parents on how we're using AI in, you know, second grade versus junior high versus high school?
That's a really great question. I would love to be able to do that. I think it would be just a logistical thing of what is the best way to do that, the best way to inform them, whether that would hold some seminars or, you know, some optional type sessions that people could come to or something like that. There's always email, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure once we start rolling out kind of this district-wide scale, that we'll be communicating that with the community of, you might hear your students starting to talk about this and see this in their classroom and things like that. But yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think how people tend to consume things. We can hold a big seminar and 10 people are going to show up. But if it's a video and maybe if it's in smaller segments that people can digest at different grade levels, like, hey, let's talk about how we're using Magic School in second grade, and you know, kind of show them how that works.
Or even during parent-teacher conferences could be a good time for that information to be shared as well. So that's good, a good idea.
Another question is, so we've got this Magic School. Is that primarily for the teachers who are using that?
So it has a student-facing side. I can explain it. I don't know, do I have time to explain how that functions? Are people interested in that? How the student-facing side functions, essentially the teacher creates a custom chatbot, and there's 50 different tools that are templates, essentially, that teachers can utilize. But they choose what chatbot they would like to utilize for the specific lesson that they're teaching. So I just was observing, I think it was 10th grade biology, and they were utilizing it as the teacher had set up ahead of time the custom chatbot to learn more about all of the systems of the body. And so she had put in specific parameters that you can build within this of what information she wanted it to focus on. If there's information that they want to be that the teacher wants to be left out, they can indicate that, like, please don't include information about, you know, something specific. So they can really tailor it to fit exactly what they're looking for. And then the students join that room where that chatbot is through a code. And so that is how the student logs in to access that chatbot. And so that's the only thing that they're allowed to access in there, is that one chatbot with those specific parameters that the teacher has set for the purpose of that assignment.
Very, very curated for that particular use case.
Right.
Do we have AI built into our other curriculum, like our math and language arts and stuff? Are there features that are built into those where, you know, as the student's learning or not getting something, that it's adapting using AI? Is that?
To my knowledge, we don't have specific online curriculum that has those specific things built in for student usage. There are some teacher-facing things, so like Seesaw has an AI component that's built into it, but that's only on the teacher side of it, not on the student side of it. Canvas, the learning management system we utilize, that has an AI component, but that one is only a teacher-facing component as well. So in terms of, I mean, Grammarly, right? Grammarly's been around for a long time. That's AI, and that's utilized a lot.
So I know some people will use it like they want to learn about a topic.
Right.
So it's not generating content to use in a paper or an assignment, but just like, I don't know anything about George Washington.
Right.
So it tells me all about that, and then I can ask more questions, or I could even say, like, based on all of our chats, what areas am I not strong in? And have it, like, quiz you on things that you might not have been doing well. So, like, people are using it. And I think that's probably where this is all going also, is that we're thinking about AI as like, are kids gonna use it to cheat on writing a paper? But it really could be that back and forth conversation and adapting to their very specific learning needs.
Yes.
Which is pretty awesome.
Yes, so with a third grade lesson last year, they were learning about immigration. And so I went in and, because I was modeling Magic Student for these third grade teachers, because they wanted to see how it worked. And it was really fun. We set it up so that the chatbot was an 8-year-old child that had immigrated from any country in 1929, I think was the year that we picked. And so we set it up and said, you know, be prepared to answer questions about your trip and about your family and what your parents' jobs were, and, you know, who are your brothers and sisters, or what are the things that you like to do? And so the third graders got on and they were able to ask questions, and it was like they just had a dialogue back and forth with the chatbot, and it was fun. They're like, oh my goodness, this girl is amazing, you know. And I said, well, we have to remember, this is not a real human. There's not someone on the other side of your computer actually answering your questions for you. But there is the capability for that back and forth, but it's in that moderated manner. So the teachers, and another piece of this is teachers are able to see all of the inputs and the outputs, every interaction that their students have with the chatbot that they've allowed their students to use. So they can go in and see kind of the learning progression of the kinds of questions they asked and things like that as well. So that's a really nice feature. Raina is the kind of the all-encompassing unicorn of Magic School that is like very, very open-ended. And so they can assign Raina as well, which would just be like, you can ask her anything. So there is that as well that has less parameters around it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I think the one area that I have of concern outside of, you know, if students are going outside of the tools that we're giving them and using, you know, just using OpenAI directly, you know, there's obviously concerns about their data, privacy, you know, hallucinations, all those things that AI can do that may not be sanitized
Right.
appropriately for them. But the other part would be sometimes learning, like really learning something requires you to struggle. And we're talking about like shortening the time scale. But if you don't have to fight through to learn it, sometimes you don't really learn it.
Right.
And so that's something that I think we need to use the tool to help us to learn and be better. But if we have it replace those skills, then we're, you know, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it.
Right.
And I know there's a lot of adults that are kind of putting themselves in that position where, hey, you know, if I have it write all the code for me, I forget how to write code. And if I don't have the AI, I can't do anything. That's not a good place to be if it's a skill you're trying to learn. So especially with these kids who are learning a lot of things for the first time, making sure that they're actually putting the effort into it and that there's that struggle
Right.
In some cases so that they can really learn it.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I feel like it's important that our teachers also have training to know how are they presenting these things to their students so that there is still that productive struggle in the use of these tools, so that students are seeing how they can still use critical thinking skills and how they're still using problem solving, even if they are using AI, that they're not just getting rid of, I'm just going to make this so easy for myself, and of when it's okay and when it's not okay. And I think, you know, the more that you start to use AI, you start to realize like, ooh, I don't know if I want to really have it do that for me. You know, like emails are one of those things for me. Like, I'm not ready to have it start writing emails for me. I know a lot of people use it for that because you can run it through for tone or ask it to, you know, and I sometimes will run it through and say, hey, that was really, this is really wordy. Can you make it more concise for me and have it shorten it down? And I know, you know, some people will use it to check for tone before they send it. Like, I want this to sound professional. How do I make this sound more professional? So even utilizing those types of things with students to then have a comparison, like what makes this different than this? And what did AI do to make it sound more like this? Or what did it do to produce this type of end product, as opposed to where you were going to stop with your work, to even utilize it as that piece, and helping teachers to know how to use it in good ways so that we're not losing out on that productive struggle within it.
Good. I'm glad that we're all thinking about that too, that it's not just a shortcut to get work done quickly, but it's also a learning tool to help us augment what we're already doing.
Yep.
Are you getting all the resources that you need to evaluate this? Because it is such a big field that's changing so fast. I mean, every month or two there's a new AI, or there's
Yeah.
a new version and has all new features, and it's hard to stay on top of.
It's really overwhelming. Meeting with the EduAI Collective this week, it was like, where do we start? Where do we start with having the shared understandings even of, there's so much information out there. And I really enjoy reading all of the things, and a lot of the blogs that I subscribe to are really helpful. But in terms of resources, I think it's just like brain power. I don't know of having those tough conversations with other people. That's probably, there's just one of me, and so that's one piece. It's like, oh, if I had a counterpart that I could be discussing things with, that would be amazing. But I'm thankful there's other people in my position around the state, and so we do frequently meet to discuss some of those things, so that helps with that piece. But otherwise, off the top of my head, besides just like brain power and discussion, it's hard to know what resources we really need. But that's a great question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, thank
I have
you.
a couple of quick safety.
Yeah.
Am I on? Oh, I wasn't. A couple of quick safety-related questions. One is that I know that we can't control what students access outside of school, but is there some type of block in place where I know you can do it with, I don't know, it was like Yik Yak or something like that. That was, you could geofence or whatever, so they couldn't use it inside a certain perimeter. Do we have that ability, or are we doing that with other forms of AI? So they're restricted on what they really have access to?
Yes, if they're on a school device, anyone that's 18 and younger, which is everybody, is blocked from the general OpenAI sites. So the ChatGPT, Claude, Copilot, all of the big ones. So any AI, one just came across my desk today where there's a teacher that wants to utilize something, and looking at the privacy, it was like, no one under 13 can use this. And it was something at the middle school. It's like, well, sorry, because you might have some 12-year-olds and you might have some 13-year-olds. So we can't differentiate between it that closely in that building. And so I'm sorry, this does look really, really cool, like a neat learning opportunity, but I don't think that it's safe, and they're very clear in their privacy policy of, like, this is not allowed, because it was blocked. And so he was like, can you please unblock this? It's like, oh, I'm sorry. So those things come up, and it's good that they're asking the questions. But yeah, we do have filters in place for that, so that they're not able to access
Okay, good.
those.
My second question is, I don't know if we already do this on district devices. I think maybe we do for other things, but do we have like flagged keywords that if a student were to, say, type in, something concerning about abuse or self-harm, or, would we be flagged about that?
So we use a filtering program called Securely. And if you're a parent, you would have access to your student Securely summary, essentially, where it will send you an email and notify you of all of the different things that your child searched for on their school device. So I know, like, even when they were sending Chromebooks home for elementary students, when my daughters were in elementary school, I was able to, through Securely, I was able to have it turn off their Chromebook at a certain time so that I knew that they weren't going to be trying to be sneaky and getting on it to watch a movie or something like that. So it has those capabilities as well. And I think that's a site that, a platform a lot of parents don't know about. And it is communicated at different points along the way, but I think it's one of those things until you're on it and you can see how it really functions, then you start to realize like, oh, this could be really helpful for me. So Securely is what we use for content filtering, and there is, within that, it would notify the parent, like your child searched for, like I actually think my daughter was doing a report on suicide prevention, and it sent me an email that day, like she searched something about suicides, suicide. And on the district level, to be honest with you, I don't know how that piece functions. If the district is notified for something on that end of it, I would have to check with our technology director to see how that piece functions. And then would that filter to our counselors, or would that filter, would there be some kind of a follow-up with parents? I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Can you answer that?
do you know Mr. Lyles?
Yeah, we do get alerted at a high level when there's a high rating of concern, and then we let the district, the building administration know as soon as possible. I think we go from there.
Okay, great, thank you.
I have just a couple of comments about this. I'm glad to hear about this. I'm a low technology person. I mean, I prefer to listen to my music on vinyl and reel-to-reel tape. That's the kind of guy I am.
That's great.
I fight technology nearly at every step. It's big for me just to have this thing in front of me that I'm used to coming in here with all paper. And, but it's the way, it's just kind of like, you talking about how everybody's just trying to deal with this. Because it just like came over the edge in a huge waterfall, and everybody, students, teachers, administration, trying to figure out what do we do. But it's here. We've got to figure it out. I'm glad you're highlighting it and thinking about it. I'm glad you found this tool. But it is being used. And I've heard some people say, well, it's going to replace all of us. And then I heard somebody say, well, no, your job won't be replaced by AI, although I'm hearing it will replace a lot of lawyers, actually. We'll see. But they are saying you probably won't lose your job to AI. And I agree with Rick totally. One thing the pandemic taught us is the value of that human in that class and that interaction. So you probably won't be replaced by AI, whether it's me or whoever else, but you might get replaced by somebody that knows how to use it as a tool. So I think our teachers need to know how to use it. The students need to know how to use it. And like a lot of technology, the students are usually ahead of us, except for maybe Chad. He's ahead of them, but they're gaining. So I'm glad you're on this. I'm glad it's highlighted. And everybody, we need to figure this out. I sat in a meeting with a bunch of lawyers, and I'm known for not being a technology person. And it's kind of like that old commercial that outdates a lot of you. When I was, oh, let's give this life cereal to Mikey. He hates everything. So here's Fisher in this meeting, and I'm going like this. And old Fisher, he's never going to say we're going to spend all this money on this. And I said, I think we've got to have it. I think it's adapt or die. This tool is so powerful. And then the tool we had, like this magic school, for lawyers, it's a big expense for a small business like us, which essentially we are. But you input the client's material, and it keeps it confidential. It's not out there. It's not learning from it all over the place. But I've seen it do amazing things that just blew me away. Thousands of documents analyzed specific by issue inside of like a minute and a half. Crazy stuff. And I've seen it do stuff totally wrong too, like hallucinating. I think, I've learned about hallucinating. Like, what? Computer hallucinate? That means they're trying to please you, so it's giving you wrong info. If you didn't have a law degree and knew, whoa, you go off on that, you're going to be in trouble. So anyway, I'm glad to hear it. It's here. It's everywhere. If some anti-technology person like me can recognize the importance of it, I'm glad we're on it, because it is a game changer everywhere, and everybody's kind of learning together. So please keep up the effort on it.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, and everybody has different thoughts about it, but I think we all probably agree on the same things about it is here. So even if I have the thought, the opinion, I don't like it, and I don't have to use it, I can agree that it's here and our students are using it, and we need to make sure we're doing something to make sure that it's being used in safe ways. So hopefully that's the common thread that we have with everybody, even those that are the very anti-AI side of things, that we can still have this common agreement that our students need to know how to use it in appropriate, safe ways. And so what does that look like? So we'll see.
You will have a
Probably gonna change
continual-
tomorrow.
Yeah, I was like, you'll have a continual job, because right when you get everything figured out, then they'll have AI 2.0.
Right, that's right. That's right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Kendra. Okay. Next up is the year-end financial report. Mr. Bagam.
Good evening again, Board. I will say that Mrs. Carlson's presentation is going to be much more thrilling than mine is with financial reports. Dr. Lupnick, I apologize if you get a securely update that talks about amortization tables, spreadsheets, or debits and credits. Exactly. Just a quick run-through of the year-end financials for last fiscal year, 2025. We are a quarter of the year way through this year already. So give you an update. Again, general fund expenditures. Excuse me. You can see our revenues are up over $100 million now, so our budget's roughly over $100 million. Short increase in those total revenues, 1.9%. Our SSA history, or supplemental state aid history, again, you know that history, we're at 2.5% for fiscal year '25. I think the thing here to realize is that a lot of the movement from the general fund standpoint is really going to depend on what property tax reform looks like in the future, right? So a lot of shifting from property taxes possibly to more state aid. If you hear the discussion about uniform levies that we know of right now at $5.40 being reduced, what that means is more state aid, so a lot more reliance on the state aid dollars. So just to watch those things from the legislator this year. Title funds, they were down 28% last year relative to 2024. 2026, in our current year, they're actually up again by 17%. So you can see kind of the evolution of federal funded programs at that level. Our Medicaid revenues were down 14%. And then 24 was our last of our ESSER COVID-related funds as well. And through COVID, we had received over the past, those 3 years, $6.4 million in total. Our interest income, with less money in the bank, we have a little bit less income from interest, and also we'll see those rates probably decline in the future slowly. Other local revenues, we did pick up some energy rebates from the middle school project, and then our insurance claims that came through with some of our larger insurances claims. Changes in AAA funding, that started this past year, '25. We'll see more changes in '26. And then as far as expenditures, again, $106 million of expenditures. That's a 4.7% increase relative to last year. We spent about 6.6% more in wages and benefits than we did in the prior year. Really, though, no substantial changes within the functional areas of the programs. We spent about 82% when it comes to people. And then as far as the uptick of costs, we had more people. Remember, we had more building improvement leaders. We added some staff at the middle school level. We had a short increase within our medical premiums of 2.7%, so that goes into the increase of those personnel costs. Regarding all funds, our revenues are actually down compared to last year because of the bond issuances. We had the remaining $92 million of bonds back in '24. Without those bonds, we were actually up about 1.3%. Again, interest income from that level is down just because of the shortage of funds, not shortage of funds, the less of funds in the capital projects funds in the bonds. As far as expenditures, $60 million less spending on those capital projects. We finished the middle school. We did most of the costs here for the district office and alternative programs. So we can see those things continue to drop down. Just a summary there of all funds and personnel costs. Other funds, a self-insurance fund, again, just a short 2.7% increase in those premiums in '25. The fund balance still remains strong at $8.4 million. We collected about $12 million in premiums from our employees through here, and then interest income makes up for the difference, is about $300,000 for that interest income. Dental insurance plan is roughly about the same it was moving into '24 to '25. Financial indicators. These are the pieces that we really need to take with us. Solvency ratio, you can see kind of the steady decline in our solvency ratio over the past few years. We spent about almost $5 million into our fund balance in '25 compared to '24. Again, the solvency ratio is now at 9.6%. The IASB recommendation is 7 to 17%, no more than 25%. So we're still within that range. This piece, too, can also drive what our borrowing interest rate monies are as we consider the bond referendum in November. And if that passes, when we issue those bonds, it shouldn't have a significant effect with our interest rates, but it could. But that could probably be outplayed, too, when it comes to the Federal Reserve and what they do with interest rates as well. We decommitted our fund balance. If you recall, we had a little over $1 million for furniture, fixtures, and other items in the middle school. So that was decommitted now that that is done. And we'll talk a little bit here about unspent spending authority. That dropped as well from 17.3% to 15.7%. Again, well within the range by IASB, 5 to 15%, no more than 25%. We continue to get that authority back when it comes to things like special education deficit, ELL costs in excess of what we get funding for. But remember, a lot of that, 82% of those costs we spend are all on people. So just be, in the future, as we look to staff additional positions, just to be extremely conservative when we look at those staffing additions and continue to leverage other funds as well. Just a few factors there as far as contributing to the unspent spending authority. This is the area, again, where if we go negative here, which we're far from negative, this is the area where we will be talked to by the state. The bigger piece for this for us, I will need to go to the SBRC as well when it comes to, we can get spending authority from our one-time costs related to the middle school and people. So I'll be going to do that in the spring next year to get those authority monies back. But every opportunity we get to achieve more authority, we'll go ahead and do so in the future. And here's just a quick snapshot of our fund balances, 24 to 25, and the activities that happened in between those. One thing to point out here is we look at the capital projects funds and the usage of those $92 million in obligation debts. Those have been spent. Our save revenues there in that column is moving from $17.4 million at the end of '25 to $6.6 million. With our projections for the projects using SAVE for this year, we'll drop that below $2 million. So a lot of our projects that we're spending money on now, including transportation, building, the baseball, softball project, will be using SAVE funds and PEPAL funds. PEPAL funds right now, as you see there, started at $4.6 million, will increase just slightly. At the end of FY '26, we'll have about $6 million. In FY '27, we'll have about $7.5 million. So just a summary that we're kind of we need to get conservative when it comes to some of our projects here until we start building those funds back up. And I want to make sure we save some of our monies in these pots for any sort of emergency repairs that might need to happen during the school year. That was a quick summary of the financial transactions and activities for the school year. Open for questions.
Yes. AEA, we have, and I'm just glazing over this, and you kind of glazed over it. The loss of AEA funding was 27.7%, or tell me how that impacted our budget overall.
Yeah, so for this year, it's changed a bit. So in the previous years, we didn't see the money. It came to us just on paper, and we sent it right back out to the AEA.
Services were covered.
Correct. This past year, similarly, but there were dollars, the flow-through dollars were actually cut, right? So the AEO is getting less money from us. In the current fiscal year, 90% of that money is going back to the AA, but there's 10% of that money that we still retain to buy services for in the areas of special education, media service, et cetera. So we can choose to buy those services through the AEA or any other service agencies, but these are the areas that we'll be looking to have more control on when it comes to that funding.
So is that impact a positive or a negative?
We'll have more control on that funding now. It's less funding that we can spend towards those services. The challenge is going to be the cost of those services are more than what we have
Increase.
anticipated.
The costs are increasing.
Correct.
Versus the AEA blanket covering all the districts.
Correct.
Services, correct?
We have choices, but the costs are increasing,
Right,
correct?
because of the reduction in
Yes,
funding.
yes.
Okay. Just need clarification there.
Yep.
Solvency ratio, obviously, we're getting to the lower end of our thing. What do we plan to do to try to make that go back up?
Yeah, we can spend less or gain more revenue, right? So the spending less is kind of watching where we are with our people spending or supply spending and purchase services. Part of how to build that solvency ratio back up is to gain that additional money, actual dollars, through the cash reserve levy the following year. Since we've been trying to manage the tax rates so we're not not going up in tax rates, we haven't been able to get enough cash in that cash levy as we have in the past. So the opportunities that we have to be able to get additional money in the cash reserve levy, we will manage that so we maximize that pot, but still maintain the tax rate the way it is.
So the bonding, how does the bonding affect that? Because we're borrowing more.
Yeah, so bonding agencies, as we go through, assuming the bond referendum passes in November, when we go through the issuance of bonds, there's a series of things we have to do. One of those things is to go through an interview with those bonding agencies. And of those factors, those bonding agencies will look at our financial factors. One of the things they like to see is money in the bank. And more money in the bank that we have, the less likely we would default on those loans. The more money in the bank we have as far as solvency ratio, typically the better the rates we get when it comes to the borrowing of those funds. Now, staying within the IASB recommendation of 17 to 17%, I think we'll be okay. Will it look better at 25%? Absolutely. But I don't think it would have a huge or significant impact when it comes to percentages that we pay back on those bonds.
Are save and PEPAL dollars included in the solvency ratio?
They are not. Solvency ratio and unspent spending authority are only on the general fund.
So any of the capital projects we're doing, the transportation building or the baseball, softball improvements?
Not related to
None of that
solvency or
would affect.
unspent, correct.
Kevin, I commend you for overseeing a huge budget. I know it's hard you tried to explain to me several times all these pots of money and everything, and good luck to whoever's replacing me to understand that. But 4 things I'm glad we spent money on, because I think they're so valuable. Hosting the Solution Tree Conference, that's huge. I mean, that's a no-brainer, and I'm so proud of our district. Adding the SAM positions, much needed. Additional administrator at the middle school, much needed. Refreshing secondary teachers' Chromebooks. I think we learned from AI, we need to keep updating technology as much as we can. So I know the best way to balance the budget is to cut expenditures, but I'm glad that we, decided to do those things.
Yep. As I talk about kind of leveraging other funds, as you talk
Yeah.
about Solutions Tree, that was paid from with professional development funding,
that's even
categorical
better,
funding.
yeah,
So
even
we're
better.
able to utilize some of that balance we had carried over for those.
Good.
So for the, save PEPAL, will we get roughly another 15 million next year? Is that
For PEPAL funds,
between PEPAL and save? I'm just looking at what you had in the chart.
yeah, so for this year, I don't think anything will change. It shouldn't change for this year, 26, 27, depending on what happens with legislation, that could change. I mean, they being legislators, could limit tax rates for things like PEPAL. But those are the things we need to be watching for. But for my analysis of future years, I'm using kind of no changes when it comes to our rates. and a very conservative uptick when it comes to enrollment growth and valuation growth. You know, one of the things from a sales tax standpoint, your save monies, it's been noted here that Iowa's economy is going down, so we're going to probably get less save dollars. So again, in that analysis, just being extremely conservative from that value, from that standpoint.
Okay. So I know, like, obviously we've got the bond referendum, that passes, we can cover the projects that we have earmarked for that, but we have a whole list of other things.
A big list of other
That come
things.
after that.
Correct.
We'd like to start working through.
Mm-hmm.
And save and Pebble dollars are key to being able to get that done, in
Those-
addition to emergency repairs.
Correct. Those would be about the only pots of money without having other bonds to accompany those dollars to fix building repairs and for those other projects that we have.
Kevin, and this may not be a fair question, and if it isn't, that, just let me know, but, you know, when I was looking, I actually like the financial stuff. It's like, oh,
I know
this
you
is
do.
great timing. And the solvency, and the things I looked at were the things that we used to spend a lot of time on, because the numbers didn't look as good as these. They weren't near as good as these. Unspent spending authority and solvency ratio. But on the solvency rate and the unspent spending authority, I actually think looks pretty freaking good.
Looks good.
The solvency ratio, even where it's at now, is like, okay, that's not bad.
We can remind people about the time you and I got acquainted, our solvency ratio was negative nearly
Subterranean.
20%.
And-
Our unspent authority was at 0.8%.
You know, I said something about, yeah, I felt like the ship's bilge was full of water, you know, and the water's now coming up over the deck. And like, this is not a good situation. And I've always described this thing like a battleship. It doesn't spin on a dime. It takes
Right.
a
Absolutely.
while for these trends to change. And so the 18.1, obviously that's great. And maybe somebody's saying, well, that's too much. You know, that's up there high, but it's good when you're bonding, I guess, to have numbers like that. I mean, as far as the 18.1, and then it was 13.2 and 9.6, do you have any feel, and maybe it's not fair because there's too many variables, but I mean, do you think we'll kind of level out, or do you expect another leg down, or?
You know, through our initial budget process here for this current fiscal year '26, we're getting into about $1 million of fund balance, so I'm gonna expect a little bit lower solvency
Sure,
ratio.
okay.
Unless something turns differently.
I appreciate your
Yep,
candidness.
absolutely. So that's where we're sitting at with solvency ratio. My concerns might lie more on the side of the things we can't control. Those
Right, like
things
the
about
legislature
10
and
miles to the west.
economy and-
Yes,
And again, this this is general fund, this isn't the
correct.
construction and the
Correct.
bonding part of it, but, okay, well, thank you, that's helpful to know.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, I didn't know if you were leaning forward to say something there. No, okay.
I have my one question on the,
All right, I think everybody asked all the other questions, so we will move on to, whoops. Item C, IASB proposed platform, whoops, I guess, never mind, fiscal year, monthly.
You're right. You're
monthly-
right.
Oh, I am, okay, sorry. I was looking at that other part on Kevin's. The IASB proposed platform and public policy delegate assembly. So,
So you had attached in your packet both the public policy agenda and then the proposed platform. And you know the four things that we voted on, and you can see that they're in there, and then they're at the top of the list of each of the section that they're part of. So I think, looks like most people across Iowa agreed with the things that you felt were important, and kind of fits right in with what we were just discussing there as well. So, and then this is just a chance for you as a board to discuss that. And then I would also recommend that we talk a little bit about the delegate assembly, which is on the November 19th from 9 to noon. We need to, at our next meeting, approve a delegate to represent the board.
if anyone's interested in that, you know, just let's talk before the next meeting.
After.
After.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it really only limits a few of us.
right, though.
Suckers.
We, right. There are just 4 that would qualify to serve in that. So if any of you
I say
4,
Gary Fisher's still.
Bridget, I'll volunteer for that.
you would,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll volunteer for that.
Yeah,
Um,
Gary Fisher.
Kelly's volunteered, but if anyone else has a strong desire,
Good job, Kelly.
Might have some
I
time.
know, you did it last year,
Yeah.
so
You'll
okay.
do good.
I'll block off my calendar for that date.
We'll talk about it next time.
What? They all volunteer, okay. Well, we can discuss that later, but I'm glad that there's interest. Thank you very much. Any thoughts about the documents from the IASB, the proposed legislative platform items?
Yeah, I'm glad the state agrees with Sally's vote.
No, that's not
Yeah.
the state, well, the other districts.
Well,
Right.
That isn't what the state agrees
the
to.
other
It's,
schools in the state.
we can only hope they find our prerogative important at the legislative level, but this is all we can do is,
The other schools there.
yes.
Yep. Great,
Consider we are.
we are. We're leaders. Go Rams.
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. I guess